You're watching The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales. Streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
2, 1.
After Quasimodo's death, Bishop Thomas of the Cathedral of Notre Dame, he sent word throughout the land, throughout all of Paris, that a new bell ringer was needed. And he decided that he would personally conduct the interviews for the replacement person and went up to the belfry because he wanted to see them actually ring the bells. So he went up there, and after a while, observing several applicants demonstrating their skills, he decided to call it a day. But just then, as he was about to get up and leave, a lone man approached with no arms. And he says, "I am here for the bell ringing job." And Bishop Thomas is a little incredulous about it. He's like, "But sir, you have no arms." The man says, "No matter. Observe." And the man walked over and began striking the bells with his face over and over, and created this most beautiful melodic sound, just gorgeous music. And it rung throughout the city, and people started coming to the cathedral to hear this music. And his astonishment, the bishop was immediately just dumbfounded and ready to hire this man. But as he took a step back and then ran forward again to hit the bell, the man tripped and fell through the hole and plummeted to his death on the ground below. The stunned bishop immediately rushed down the stairway, got to the bottom, and found a crowd of people gathered around the fallen figure. And they'd all come to hear the music. Instead, they find this ghastly scene of this limbless man dead in the street. And one of them turned to the bishop and says, "Bishop, Father, who was this man?" And the bishop says, I don't know his name, but his face rings a bell." Stay tuned for the Dan Wickline Show. Hey everybody, welcome to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. It is Tuesday, November 28th. I want to send a shout out to a dear friend of mine, Tyler Drango. It's her birthday today, and she was my assistant for quite a few years. I met her when she was 16 at a convention in Phoenix. And she asked about, being like a copy reader for me and stuff like that. And we worked out a deal, and she would meet me at conventions and work at the different conventions with me. And we became good friends. And I've now known her for, well, as she put it earlier when I got a hold of her to wish her happy birthday, for half her life. And she turns 32 today, and I want to wish her a happy birthday. Tyler is an absolutely brilliant young lady, and like I said, happy birthday to her. All right, hello to Ed, to Triple B, to Aggressively Relaxing. I love that name. And of course, we have Jay on the board. His lovely wife Jenna is running around behind him. I know that. So I keep trying to figure out ways we can get Jenna back on the air, because she is well missed on this network. We definitely need her back. So, all right. I've got a bit of a cough. I'm a little under the weather, so today's show is going to be a little free form. I got some news notes we're going to work off of, and I finally saw the Blue Beetle, so I will tell you my thoughts on that, and we'll just see how the show goes. All right, guys? Okay, speaking of Blue Beetle, we're going to jump right into the news. This is probably the most recent news. This just came out from Deadline, and they are reporting that the Boys universe will continue to expand as they are making up a new spin-off series called The Boys Mexico. And it's being written and kind of created by Blue Beetle writer Gareth Dennett Alcocer. I'm slaughtering his name, but so he's going to be lead on it. Hello, Jenna. But Diego Luna and Gael Garcia Bernal are set to not only executive produce, but are considering taking on acting roles in the project, though neither of them would be like major lead roles. But yeah, so Diego Luna, of course, who we know as Andor, Cassian Andor, and Gael Garcia Bernal, who recently joined the MCU, or last year joined the MCU as Jack Russell, the Werewolf by Night, are both tied to this project as well. So a spinoff called The Boys Mexico. I think that's kind of interesting. I know they've kind of touched upon Mexico in the first season I was, but it was just from the point of view of terrorists and Homelander using that area to create threats and stuff. So I'd love to see what they hear, and they really haven't gone much into Russia as much as they should. So it'd be neat to see what V is like in the other countries and stuff, how it affects, like in Africa, in South America, and what's a Canadian response to it. So I love this idea. So we'll have to see what they're doing with that. But that is first word came out today. There was an interesting story that came out over the weekend. John Hamm was asked about joining the MCU. There's been a lot of speculation about John Hamm over the last few years. A lot of people fan casting him as Dr. Doom. Other people wanting him as Mr. Sinister. I think he's a pretty interesting actor. I don't think I really would have taken him that seriously for the MCU off of his other stuff. But more recently, him in Tag and Fletch Lives, or Fletch, whatever the newest Fletch movie is, or his role on Good Omens. I see him a lot better in that, much more versatile. And not saying he was a bad actor, I just hadn't seen that much from him. But yeah, I see he could fit into the MCU or the DCU pretty damn easily. So, confess Fletch, thank you. Which I still need to. I mean, I've got to. I've seen parts of it. I got to sit down and see the whole thing. I love the old Chevy Chase Fletch movies. So I definitely want to see what John Hamm did. But from what I've seen of the clips, it looks great. So, John Hamm, of course, grew up on comics, and he's talked about specifically the Fantastic Four and the X-Men. So it kind of makes a match there. There are areas he would be interested, and he has said flat out that he would absolutely love to join the MCU, but it really is the powers that be and not up to him. I believe he'd use the above my pay grade line. So, yeah. But yeah, if anybody from Marvel's listening, yeah, cast John Hamm. I don't know, as I do like some recent rumors that maybe Cillian Murphy is in talks to be Doctor Doom, and I think that would be good. But yeah. Jenna says, Good Omens that second season ending has me messed up. Lisa and I are just getting around to watching it. I've been saving Good Omens until Lisa was down here. So we're either going to watch it in the next 2 days, or we're going to watch it when she's here between Christmas and New Year's. So that's one that I've promised to save for her. So I never thought of him as Sinister. Now I need it. Yeah, I think he would be an awesome Sinister. Aggressively says he's pretty boring in Morning Show, but Doom would be great. Yeah. It's one of my favorites. Yeah, I loved Good Omens season 1. And what's funny is I tried to sit down and read the book, the Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman book, and just could not get into it. Ed's never heard of Good Omens. Good Omens is not horror. It is on Amazon Prime. It stars David Tennant and Michael Sheen, along with John Hamm. Just a slew of great actors in it. But the premise is there is an angel and a devil who have, over the years, both get assigned to Earth, or a demon, and they are doing their jobs, but they kind of get enamored with humans and kind of take on some human qualities in a sense. And then they find out that Armageddon is supposed to finally happen, the war between heaven and hell. And the two of them decide to team up to stop it and to find the Antichrist before either heaven or hell gets him. And it's pretty amazing. And it comes from Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett. There is a lot of humor, and if you like the band Queen, there's a lot of Queen music in it too, which is beautiful. It's the first season is really well done. I know a lot of people like myself were surprised it was getting a second season because the first season pretty much takes care of the first book. But yeah, the second season is out now, and I hear nothing but good about it. So just good stuff about it. So you might want to check it out. It's a good watch. And an angel and demon being besties for all history. Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. The show is about Apocalypse being goofed. Michael Sheen and David Tennant are really good friends in real life. And that comes through as them in this. It is brilliant. But like I said, I had a hard time reading the book, but loved the series, and will probably go back and listen to the book now. So Ed says, Jenna says, Ed, when you watch it, talk to me. I need someone to talk about it. Yeah, it's on Amazon Prime. Excuse the coughing. I did say I was a tad under the weather. Okay. Let's see. Let's move on. Current rumors going around right now, and these are coming from Daniel RPK, who is probably one of the better sources for leaks and stuff. He's saying that Marvel is starting to move forward on second seasons for Moon Knight, She-Hulk, and Miss Marvel. Plus, they also want to do a third Doctor Strange movie. So I'm kind of all for all of that. I liked She-Hulk quite a bit. I loved Moon Knight, and I really loved Miss Marvel, which again, it's a series that I went in expecting to like the action stuff and not really like the teen angst and family drama stuff. That, the kind of the John Hughes aspect of it, and found it just, the family part of it was what I loved about it. Her family and her culture and stuff, it was so refreshing the way they presented it and introduced it. and Aman Vellani for never having acted before and getting this role and just nailing it, and now just continuing to grow and grow is amazing. So I'm happy for all of that. Let's see. Jenna says, I watched season 1 at least a dozen. Oh, okay. Of Good Omens, and 2 a few times. Moon Knight was so good. Moon Knight was good. They definitely have to do another Moon Knight. And I think She-Hulk was really good. But then, of course, I was a fan of the John Byrne She-Hulk comic run, and you kind of had to have that in your mind when you go into that show. Otherwise, you're expecting a standard Marvel thing, and it's not. It's fourth wall breaking. It's Deadpool-esque, you know. So, all right, let's see what else we got. A lot of stuff on Agatha Darkhold Diaries. We know that thanks to Patti LuPone, that the series is expected to debut in October of next year. It'll be kind of a Halloween thing. And a featurette for it has appeared on the new WandaVision Blu-ray that they put out. And in it, we get our first look at Aubrey Plaza's character of Rio Vidal. And Rio is an interesting character. From what I understand, she's kind of playing like an ex-girlfriend of Agatha's, and also another witch, another powerful witch, and is kind of the antagonist for the series, that she wants something from Agatha. So one of the other things that they're talking about is something called the Witch's Road. And if you read the Scarlet Witch comic series from 2016, they introduced a Witch's Road, and it's a plane of existence that only sorcerers can tread. It's this area that you have to find the door entrance to. And the only way to find the entrance, according to, the rumors about the series, is that you have to sing the song to open the door, and you have to sing it with your coven. You can't just do it by yourself. So you knew Marvel was going to find a way to put a song in this series after the success of Agatha All Along, the fact you've got Catherine Hahn, the fact that you're bringing in Patti LuPone. You knew that a song was going to happen. So, but yeah, we're looking forward to that. Taika Waititi's talking. And after the great success of Ragnarok and the great, I don't want to say failure, I really don't, but the disappointment of Love and Thunder, he's making it clear that he will not be, if Thor 5 is happening, he is not involved. He's not doing it. He's going back to doing the movies he wants to do, make the little auteur projects that he wants to do. He wants to do, the things we do in the shadows, or what's the one, the Next Goal Wins that he just put out. That's his Ed's favorite movie, note sarcasm. I don't know why he felt he needed to do this, but he's come out and said that he took the job with Marvel for the money, to basically feed his kids and pay the bills and stuff. And that it wasn't a big artistic thing for him, which I don't think you need to say. I mean, as a writer, I will take a lot of projects. If somebody calls me up and offers me a project, there's a good chance I'm going to take it, because as a writer, I love a challenge. I love to find a story I want to tell in whatever parameters I'm given, So if I got a call from Archie tomorrow and they said, we would like you to do a Jughead series with him pretending to be Sherlock Holmes, I'd be like, okay, when do you need it? Let me see what I can do. And then I would try to find okay, what makes Jughead click? What does he and Sherlock Holmes have in common? Where can I find the common ground? Who would be Watson? And just go from there. You know, and I would find the art, I would find the creative process in it, but I would also take the check because I like money. I like to pay the bills. I like to be able to buy ribs and steak, but I also like to be able to buy hot dogs and, rice and things like that. So, I get that if you take a movie because there's a nice big, big paycheck on it, but it doesn't mean you can't be artistic about it. Doesn't mean you can't find your voice. And Ragnarok was 100% Taika Waititi. I just think perhaps the second one, he just kind of lost the narrative. So, but I don't think he needs to come out and say it wasn't an autistic endeavor. Yeah, whatever. Okay. We have a report from the Direct having to do with an interview with Iman Vellani. We talked about her earlier. That you guys remember them talking about a Marvel Zombies project, an animated series doing Marvel Zombies? Well, that's still happening, even though we haven't heard about it in quite some time. And it turns out that Miss Marvel will be kind of the center of the show, or one of the main characters in the show, and Iman Vellani is voicing it. And she told them that we've done the whole thing. It's amazing. It was so much fun, and there are a lot of cool characters in Marvel Zombies show, and Kamala is kind of the center of the show. They described to me, it's like she's basically the Frodo of the story, and I was like, that's amazing. She went on to say, and I get to interact and meet all these people along her journey. And yes, they're only voices, and I don't get to hear their voices in real time, but just, it's my fantasy, right? Like knowing Kamala is going to interact with some really cool people, even if it's just animation, is so special in a lot of ways. So Marvel Zombies still happening. Yeah. And she should, and I love that they're going to use Kamala because she really is kind of the everyman in the same way that Spider-Man is. But that's going to be fun. I'm not a big zombie person, so it's hard for me to say that, but yeah. Jay says, I love how she loves the character so much. That is just the best part. And the fact that she's got notebooks full of things about the MCU, and that she will full on argue with Kevin Feige over continuity. I just think that's great. The fact that, Kevin Feige is kind of the heart of the MCU and is the brain child behind all this stuff. And she will just go, no, that's wrong, and get into an argument with him. I think that is awesome. She feels to me like some of the early casting, or some certain casting things like Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark, or Benedict Cumberbatch as Stephen Strange, when it's like, this is just the perfect person to be this character. You could not have done it better, and there's just certain characters that match up perfectly, and she's one of them. So, all right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the news about Avengers Kang Dynasty, and then we'll talk about Blue Beetle. So we'll be right back.
There's a comic book universe on the streets of Cleveland. Hero Tomorrow Comics is debuting
Violante, the Undead.
Get the new issue or the entire acclaimed library live on Kickstarter.
I'm coming for you, Cleveland.
Details at clevelandsuperhero.com.
Imagine being at a convention and going to an interview panel that's just for you. No bustling crowds, no hours-long lines, just you, the moderator, and your favorite comic book creators. Well, this is pretty much that. Miss Jen sits down every week with 2 comic book creators for a live stream interview about their latest work, and you can ask them whatever you want. It's Talking Shop, Mondays at 5 Eastern on The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales.
To be continued.
3 little words that hold the secret to the next great story. 3 words that will thrill you, confound you, give life to new possibilities. Every variation of To Be Continued is a promise of adventure, a promise of excitement, a promise of unseen wonders and unexplored worlds, a promise that every issue you read makes you a part of a never-ending journey, and behind every page there will be an unopened door waiting for you. This story to be continued at your local comic book shop. Visit comicshoplocator.com today.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. It's a little bit of a light day here. Miss Jen is preparing the move for her store and is tied up with that. So there will be no minute to skim it. Jay and Kyle are getting to relax today a little bit, which they really deserve. These guys, you don't see the behind the scenes stuff that goes on at this network, and they're working all the time to make this place as good as possible. So none of that today, but the Mint Hunter will be on later tonight. So let's talk about Avengers Kang Dynasty. There was a news report a week or two back that, we knew Jeff Loveness had been let go off of Kang Dynasty. And then a report came out and said that he had been let go. Oh, hey, Derek, how you doing? That Loveness had been let go because Marvel was moving away from Kang. Now, there was no really good source for that. It was somebody supposed to have had talked to Loveness, and he said the reason was because they were moving away. Well, then we heard that Destin Daniel Cretton was leaving the project as well. He was originally attached, but because he wanted to focus on the Wonder Man series and Shang-Chi 2. Well, Shang-Chi 2 is, yes, you want him on it. He did a great job on 1. And Wonder Man, which all these news sites out there are like, oh my God, Wonder Man's dead. They're not going to do Wonder Man anymore. It's done. What could possibly have happened? No Wonder Man. Yeah. Jesus. So when Cretton left as a director and Loveness had already gone, and they were looking, it's like, oh, well, we're not going to have Kang anymore. It suddenly become the Doom Dynasty, or, the Trials of Doctor Doom, or suddenly Doctor Doom was going to become the new villain for the second or for the next Avengers movie. And I did a whole article or a whole episode last week going, slow your roll. Stop this. Stop running with all this negativity. Stop assuming that one little bit of information means the sky is falling. we have become journalists have become chicken littles. They run around, they take one piece of evidence like, oh, there's a piece of something on the ground, the sky is falling, and run around and say everything is collapsing, Marvel is dead. Well, it came out yesterday that Michael Waldron, who was already attached to write Avengers Secret Wars, is now going to write Avengers Kang Dynasty. Now, what is his pedigree? Who is Michael Waldron? Michael Waldron co-created Loki and wrote on the series. He's credited for like 12 episodes as producer and writer. He's in the room. He and Eric Martin and stuff, they created Loki. Or he put out Loki. He was a writer on an episode. He comes from Rick and Morty, where he was an assistant and then a writer for an episode. He was a producer on Rick and Morty. He wrote Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. He co-created and wrote the Starz series Heels that stars Stephen Amell. So coming from Rick and Morty, having done Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, having worked on Loki, this guy seems like a really good fit. And they're saying he was, brought on to write Avengers Kang Dynasty. Not a name change, not Avengers 5 or 4 or whatever it is, Avengers 5. There's no official announcement of anything having to do with Marvel moving away from Kang. Now, there is still a big question about whether or not Jonathan Majors will be available to be Kang, and that is a huge question. But it's not a question that couldn't be answered with, once it's answered, that couldn't be dealt with, if he's available, if he gets cleared, great, then you move forward with a very good actor. I mean, his performance as Victor Timely and as Kang and as He Who Remains shows that he's a good actor. And in Creed, whatever number it was, and I mean, he was picked as Kang for a reason, and he's good. But if he's found guilty and has to go to prison for a year or whatever they end up doing, and Marvel feels they have to move away from him, or, whatever the end result is, and they need to recast, they can recast. People will accept that. The fact that we've had how many Bonds, James Bonds, how many Supermans, how many Batmans, and people are okay with it. Marvel doesn't like to recast. They like to use the same actors as often as possible. That is a tribute to them. That is a good thing. That shows loyalty, but they also know when they need to move on, whether it's, Mark Ruffalo in place of Ed Norton, it's Don Cheadle in place of Terrence Howard, or they bring back actors when they're good, like Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire, Alfred Molina. This is what they do. So I don't think Marvel would make a decision to change all of their plans and everything they have done to this point because an actor becomes unavailable. I think they're being quiet about what they're going to do because they want to let it play out. A lot of studios come out in this knee-jerk reaction, and you see it with Majors. There's a lot of companies that fired him or stopped working with him and stuff like that when these came out. And if he's proven innocent, or if the case is dropped, then, this guy's lost all this stuff for no reason, where they could have waited, or yes, if it was something that was coming out immediately, maybe you hold it off. But Marvel has continued forward with what they've already done with him. And hopefully, because I think the next court case is supposed to be soon. The trial is supposed to start like the end of this month, like within the next few days, maybe even today. I have to check and see if anything's come up yet. But Marvel's not cutting ties with him until they know what is happening. And they're not giving up on the Kang storyline. Kang is a great character. They're building him in a unique way because he's a unique character. You know, Kang, every Kang story ends with him getting his ass kicked. Every villain in the Marvel Universe ends with their getting their ass kicked. And unless you just want to use a villain once and be done with them, then you got to show that the character grows from defeat and comes back stronger and stronger. And you can do that. You know, or a variant gets defeated doesn't mean that the next one doesn't learn from that. So, so don't assume that the Kang dynasty is dead. A new writer has been attached. No word has come out that they're changing directions or anything. If anything, it makes more sense because they've brought the guy on who was going to write the next Avenger movie to write this one. And it feels like it's tying them closer together, like Infinity War and Endgame. It almost feels like they should have done this in the first place. So, all right, we're going to take one more break now. And then when we come back, we'll talk about Blue Beetle. So hopefully Jay's ready. We'll be right back.
Symphonic verses, Nocturne's romance. A song of romanticized darkness, dreaming dead by sleep.
According to a statistic that I just made up, people spend 4 hours a day changing the television channel. People who watch The Experience don't do that. Save yourself a ton of time by tuning into The Experience and enjoying our new original programming 7 days a week. And then tell your friends. Think about the money they could save on batteries in the remote alone just by tuning into The Experience. Find out more by scanning the QR code below. Did you know that every Experience show, including some exclusive content, streams on Twitch? Check it out, twitch.tv/the_EXP. Or just scan that QR code.
Everybody, welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. Remember to stick around tonight. Will be the Mint Hunter. And please hit those like and subscribe buttons down there, the thumbs up and all those things. Those help me out a lot, and they make me feel warm and fuzzy inside. So this actually, I looked it up, and from ABC News, a story posted on their New York affiliate today says that Loki actor Jonathan Majors goes on trial Wednesday, which is tomorrow, in New York on charges he harassed and assaulted his ex-girlfriend Grace Jabari. The actor, 33, is facing misdemeanor charges of assault and harassment and could spend up to a year in jail if convicted. The Marvel star has denied the assault and portrayed Jabari as the aggressor during an encounter in a taxi back in March. Majors was arrested, accused of twisting his girlfriend's arm behind her back, striking her in the head, and pushing her into a vehicle. She was treated at a hospital for minor neck and head injuries, including a cut to her ear. Majors filed a cross complaint against Jabari, alleging he was the one assaulted. The NYPD arrested her, but the Manhattan District Attorney's Office declined to pursue a case. The Manhattan District Attorney's in a statement said the Manhattan District Attorney's Office has officially declined to prosecute the case against Grace Jabari because it lacks prosecutorial merit. The matter is now closed and sealed. So we'll get updates on the case starting tomorrow. All right, let's jump into. I finally got to watch Blue Beetle, and I say finally because I didn't see it in the theater, and it took a while to come out. Normally, these movies come out 45, 60 days. This one seemed a little longer. Oh, Jay says we're also doing a drive to 2,500 subs. We're only 103 away. In the time I've been here, we've grown so much. Coincidence? Yeah, probably. I could have said the same thing. So, all right. So they finally put it on Max. I sat down to watch it, and I'm going to be completely honest with you. Going into this, you got to keep in mind, I don't like sitcoms because they feel awkward to me. I don't like watching people doing stupid things or mean things to each other. I don't enjoy it. I don't like somebody being picked on or, things like that. The opening 20 minutes of this movie was uncomfortable for me because they were establishing the family and him coming home from college and just the family dynamic. And his sister is just, I did not like the sister's character. She was a little crass. She was kind of abusive to him. I didn't find her funny. I liked the rest of the family well enough, but the sister bothered me. I didn't like the situations that they were put in. The whole confrontation with what's her name? Susan Sarandon's character, the antagonist of the movie. And I actually turned it off. Victoria, thank you, Victoria Cord. I didn't like that. It, like I said, I felt awkward. I didn't enjoy it. And I just kind of got that feeling like I don't want to watch this. So I shut it off. And I shut it off right at the part where Jenny Cord has gone in and stolen the beetle, the scarab, and has run through the lobby and handed it to Jaime. And I'm going to tell you now, if you get to that part of the movie, but do not like the beginning, stick around. If you like the beginning of the movie, well, that's you. Good for you. A couple nights later, I came back to it. I was decided to crochet. I had got out the blanket I'm working on and put on the TV over here and went back to it. And then it became a superhero movie. There's a little bit of disturbing, like body horror type stuff when he and the scarab merge. and there's a lot of discussion about how the scarab actually gets into his body, which they play for humor as much as they can. But from him getting the scarab on, it's a very cool movie. I'm still working on the blanket that I've been working on, this green blanket. I just haven't had a lot of time to crochet lately, but I'm going to put it aside. One of the nurses that is helping me with my wounds is actually going to be going on maternity leave in January, and I want to make a blanket for the baby. So I'm going to do that starting this week. I just got some yarn for it. So that'll be the new project. Anyway, back to the movie. So I think I want to get names right here. Zolo Maraduena is great as Jaime Reyes. The rest of the family is really good. George Lopez goes from being annoying to being one of my favorite characters pretty quickly. Just Uncle Rudy and Nana are just freaking awesome. Nana, oh my God, the character of Nana. If for no other reason, you should watch it for his grandma. She is just pure brilliance. Love the actress, love the portrayal, love the story they give her, and just the way she tugs around this giant cannon. And yeah, there's a lot of really good in this movie. There's also some bad. I think Susan Sarandon's Victoria Cord is a bit too mustache twirling. I like a villain that I can understand and at least see where they're coming from. And you get a little of it, but not enough. The Jenny Cord character is interesting. There's a good setup here. And for the most part, I think this is a movie that I would have, if I was James Gunn, I probably would have shelved this movie for a little bit. Let Flash and Aquaman come out. Call that the end of the DCU or the DCEU, and then make this Blue Beetle movie part of the stuff that's going to happen going forward, because it doesn't necessarily tie into the DCEU, at least not any way that stood out to me. But I think it's a good character. I absolutely love the references to Ted Kord and Dan Garrett, and that the character, the Blue Beetle legacy is there. All of it. And it's great how they introduce it, how they tie it together. It really felt like they took the Blue Beetle from the comics and brought him to the screen. They didn't adapt him, they brought him. They went, okay, what's all the parts we need? And yeah, they changed the city name and they changed different aspects of it. But the legacy of Blue Beetle, that Ted Kord, did all the things he did. It made Archie the big beetle, the flying beetle, and all those gadgets and stuff, or that Dan Garrett used the scarab to a certain level, that they were connected. All of that is in this. So if you are a fan of the comic book version of the Blue Beetle, any of it, it's a good movie. The cast is good. There's some really good actors that do a great job. His father is a wonderful role. again, George Lopez is really well done. It does really well in this. And Nana is awesome. Overall, I don't really have any complaints about the movie. I didn't like the first act, because it just felt very awkward and silly. But when you get past that, it becomes a very good movie. The special effects are decent. I don't have any problems with that. The guy that plays Carafax did a good job. He gives us enough. There's enough backstory. They make him a relatable villain. They just don't do it with Victoria. So, and maybe that's all they wanted. They wanted a mustache twirling villain, and that's what she played. But, and there's a lot of character arcs. Even Kajadi, the beetle, the scarab itself, has an arc. And yeah, it's just the voice of the scarab. Becky G does the voice, but you see it grow as throughout the movie. It goes from just being, oh, I have to protect you. Oh, we have to do this. Oh, we have to eliminate the threat. And it learns from the family. It learns from Jaime. So by the end of the movie, it's going back and forth between Spanish and English in a lot of ways that bilingual people do, because when you are bilingual and you're speaking, sometimes what you want to say can be said better in one language rather than the other. So you'll jump back and forth, and that's kind of what the scarab does. And then also, the scarab stops Jaime from killing at the end because it knows, it's accepted that they are not killers, where it was clearly a killer in the beginning. So I like that. I like that there's this arc for just about every character in it. The growth of the characters, you get a lot of backstory, you get a lot of emotion. It's a movie with a lot of heart and a lot of action. So Jay says the fact that it was originally supposed to be streaming and got a theatrical release was pretty impressive. Box office aside, we enjoyed it. Yeah. I think there's just such a negative outlook right now to the DCU and the split between the Zack Snyder fans and the anti-Snyder fans that this got lost in the wash. And I really wish it would have been, just held off just a little bit so it could be clearly part of the next generation. Because I don't think there was anything in it that ties it to the Snyderverse that much. I know a lot of people are like, Rudy's line of Batman's a fascist. And they're upset about that line. And I don't have a problem with that line, because if you live in a poor neighborhood or, a poorer neighborhood, and you see this guy coming in and beating up criminals and stuff like that, you might think of him as a fascist. I can see it. It's a different point of view. So I very much hope they keep the family and the character around, because I would like one day for Rudy to meet Batman, because I don't care who the Batman is at that point. I think it'd be a great scene. Yeah, and it is a throwaway line. But there was a lot of fun in that movie and a lot of good in that movie. So if you haven't watched it and you have HBO Max, give it a shot. And James Gunn has said that this Jaime Reyes will continue on. The story may not have. There might be some changes. But Jaime will move on with Zolo Maraduena in the role. So, yeah. All right, guys. I think that's going to do it for today. We will be back tomorrow with more fun and excitement. I don't know what we'll cover yet, but we'll see what the news comes up, or we'll talk about, I don't know. We'll talk about something. I like this show to be topical, so I like to kind of pull in the latest. So we'll see what happens in the next 24 hours. I hope you all have, oh, wait, Ed says, I don't much about Blue Beetle, but what I've seen, he kind of looks like a blue Iron Man. Is that basically what the character is? Originally, you have to understand, Blue Beetle was a character from way back in the 30s and 40s. And then from there, he kind of was reinvented by Steve Ditko for Charlton Comics, where he kind of became a Batman-esque type character, where he didn't have superpowers, he had gadgets, and he made a flying beetle. So he became very much a Batman character. They then turned him into a little bit more humor with some of the writers and tying him to Booster Gold. That was the Ted Kord Batman. And then they moved on to this newer character, Jaime Reyes, who gets the Scarab from the original Dan Garrett version, but finds out how to tap into it. And we discover that the Scarab isn't necessarily a mystical item. It is alien technology sent by another planet to create the ultimate warrior for Earth. So I would say he's less Iron Man and more of Spider-Man in the Iron Spider suit. So Spider-Man with Iron Man's tech. So, all right, guys, we're going to wrap it up there. Everybody have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care.
Join the party. Head over to our Linktree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.